Hi, it's the Carter Man. It is Monday, September 11th, and of course, today we pause to remember those who lost their lives in the terrorist attack on the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, in the Pennsylvania, the plane crash that those brave passengers fought back and took down the terrorist. And as we pause, I'd like you to, if you get a chance, take a look at our editorial, 9/11 editorial at constitutionalrightspack.com, constitutionalrightspack.com, where we lay out some observations that I think are pretty important on a day like today. As a matter of fact, they are, I think, essential to the survival of this nation that we love so much. You'll recall that in the aftermath of the 9/11 terrorist attack, our nation came together as rarely before we had in history. We had essentially total unity, okay? And if you look at where we are today, you kind of say to yourself, well, what the heck happened? What the heck happened? We were joined together as I said, almost as never before in history. We joined hands. We prayed to the God of our fathers and of our forefathers, and we showed the world a unified nation. And today we're showing the world a nation totally split asunder. And we have to say, why did this occur? Exactly what happened. And what happened was it was deliberately engineered by the hardcore left-wing politicians as now embodied in the Democrat Party in Washington and in certain state capitals and even some of our once great cities across the country. We lay all this out in today's editorial at Constitutional Rights Pack, constitutionalrightspack.com. And I urge you to read it. You know, we point out that if we're going to have a unified nation again, we're going to have to realize there are some people who are never going to come under the umbrella, okay? In terms of the general populace, it's a pretty small percentage. I'd say maybe 20%, maybe about 20, as high as 30, but I don't think so, around 20%. But among the left-wing radical Democrat, let's call a spade here, politicians, it's now almost 100%. It's hard to think of a Democrat who is not divisive and fiendishly anti-American in terms of every traditional value we've ever had. So you say to yourself, well, what do we do to bring our country together? Well, what we do is leave them out, okay? Not long ago, Mark Levine said we need to obliterate the Democratic Party, and he's right. That's the solution. And let those of us who love this country unite once again, as we were on 9/11 in 2001, and extol the great virtues that made this country great. That's what we have to do. That's what we have to do. There's those who say, well, no, we need to talk to those people and try and bring them back into you're not going to bring them into the fold. Okay, how do you say to people who have made the killing of unborn babies an article of faith in their party? What do you say to them? How about just killing half the babies? Well, we're not going to give them that. And they wouldn't agree to it. They wouldn't agree to it. Their sacrifices to Moloch are too important to their essential being. They're not going to stop killing the babies. So that's out. To these people who want to mutilate little children, what do we say to them? Is, you know, those who say, well, we need to compromise. How do you compromise that? What do we say? Just castrate the boys and don't continue to eviscerate the little girls? Number one, we're not going that route. And number two, they wouldn't accept it because, again, they take too much perverse pleasure in their sacrifices to Moloch. You recall Moloch was the satanic evil essence to which they sacrificed babies in the ancient days. Do we say to them, stop waging wars on countries all over the world? They're not going to do it. The neocons in the Democrat Party, they've got this financial interest in the military-industrial complex, and if 400,000 to 500,000 Ukrainian young people have to die to feed the weapon makers, that's what they're going to do, and we're not buying into it. We're not buying into it. Okay. Are we going to go along with them wanting perverts in the little girls' rooms and pornography in the libraries of our elementary schools? No. So I think you see the point I'm making. There is no common ground with these people. There is no meeting of the minds. There's no come let us reason together, because they are entirely unreasonable, and they're not going to be satisfied until they have destroyed every single last scintilla of decency and morality and, yes, traditional values in this country. Okay? Okay, how about if our compromise was to say to the Biden regime acolytes, how about if next time you fly the transgender flag in the portico of the White House, the following week fly the Christian flag? Come on, they're not going to do it. They hate Christianity. They hate the Judeo-Christian ethic. Remember, their hero, Barack Obama, at a national prayer breakfast while he was president, said, we're not a Christian nation. If we ever were, we're not now. Well, sorry, we believe, most Americans, we believe we are a Judeo-Christian nation, and we're not going to compromise that either. So that's where we are. So what are the steps we need to take in order to go ahead and eviscerate the Democratic Party and take back America? Number one, we need desperately, folks, to create an alternative media, mass media network, okay? Mass media network with programming across the board. I'm talking political programming, I'm talking entertainment programming, I'm talking a podcast network is what we're talking about, because everything comes through the internet now. Sports, all of it geared to the values that made America great, okay? Political leaders who have their programming, and they're out there, you know, the Duran on foreign policy, incredible. Megyn Kelly, you see, we're talking alternative media here, a podcast network that finishes off the hard left's mainstream media. All right, that's number one. Number two, we have to move the conservative movement outside the Beltway. It can no longer be housed inside of Washington, okay? Conservative Inc. has become corrupted. They're great at making money, but they're not too good at affecting policy, are they? The conservative movement ought to be housed in the heartland of the country, not inside the Beltway, way outside the Beltway. And we need to say to those groups who want to stay there and throw their parties for each other and have their soirees and their cruises, fine, but you're not the leadership anymore. The leadership has to move out into heartland America, okay? Where the real conservatives are, who aren't there partying day and night with Conservative Inc. It's, you know, years ago, Eric Hoffer, the great philosopher, said that every political cause starts out as a movement, becomes a business, and ends up as a racket. Conservative Inc. has become a racket. It's time to get it out of Washington. So, or leave the racketeers there to party with each other while we move the conservative movement outside the Beltway into heartland America. And finally, totally replace the leadership of the Republican Party. Totally. McConnell, out. McCarthy, out. Mitt Romney's niece, Ronna McDaniel, there at the RNC, out. The Republican Party needs real conservative leadership, forceful conservative leadership. So those are the three steps that Conservative Rights PAC.com is going to be pushing. I urge you to join us. It's time to take back this country and by taking over the leadership. So let's do this thing.